be able to go and start on Instagram. So let's see. Hopefully, I can do that right now. I'm going to hit refresh here, actually. So, hey, buddy.
Hey, buddy.
How are you?
I'm good. Can you see me all right?
I can. And you sound good. Let me just finish this public. See if this works.
Can you hear background noise? I've got a couple of heaters running. I could turn them off.
You're fine.
Okay.
All right. I don't know why. It says that we're streaming and I don't see anything here. This is irritating. Let me just do one thing real quick.
Do you want me to go pull up Instagram on my PC and see if it's up?
No. We're good. We're going to go where we are.
I'm not going to touch my camera.
Yeah. After everything else. All right. Let's just do this. It is where it is. I told people that if it didn't come through on Instagram to come onto here. For some reason, it just won't let me hit go live on this stuff, and I don't know why. So, all right. Anyway. Oh, okay. So, hey, I'm sorry. I'm just trying to figure that out. I apologize. Let's go on to this. Mike Williams of Calavera Tools. Yep. There you go. You are the man. You are the myth. You are the legend. I love you, brother. The karate chops are good. Let's start with the good story that we always want to start with. What's your origin story, man? You do incredible leather work. You are an amazing, just an amazing guy. How did you get started doing all this stuff?
Well, let's see. Man. First things first.
All right.
I started, I was in the power tool industry for 15 years. And I was a shitty sales job. I was a product manager shitty sales job. I should name check them. Stanley Bostitch. So nail guns and staplers and nails and whatnot. A lot of heavy industrial stuff. Learned how to break apart tools. Then I hate to even tell anybody, dash anybody's hopes of going back and getting an MBA. But I actually went back and got an MBA because I knew that would be the path to getting into product management. So I actually went and worked product management for Bosch Power Tools for several years. I designed miter saws and table saws for Bosch. There's a wealth of stories right there by itself. But as soon as I left there, I went to Festool, and I was originally hired as their vice president of training or something. And within a couple of months, director of training, within a couple of months, I was moved to Lebanon, Indiana. Lebanon, not Lebanon, Lebanon.
I've been there.
Yes, you have. You met Minnie Glub.
Yep.
One of my top 5 favorite people, maybe top 3 favorite people of all time. So I was at Festool. I started out as a director of training, and a couple of months later, I was the vice president of marketing, product management, brand management. I don't know, whatever else. And so I did that for 8+ years. And I, for lack of a better way to put it, I got to be a rock star in my favorite industry on the planet. And so I got there around 2007, and my NDAs are long since expired, so I could say all this now. But when I got there, nobody knew who Festool was. It was we were not exactly a household name. So anyway, I got there. I think they had done maybe 11 or 12 million the year before, and 8 years later, we were doing 90 million a year. And a lot of that was, I like to think, born on the back of our great marketing program. And let me say, I had some amazing players on the team: Rick Bush, Shane Holland, Brent Shavley, just fantastic crew that I had. And, that's where I got to meet Jory Brigham and Ben Rittering and all of these other woodworkers that, I was so jealous of. So I guess this is the better way to bring it back to that origin story, right? Is so I had actually flown out to San Luis Obispo, and these guys know this by now, and it's been 10 years, so who cares? But so I had flown out to San Luis Obispo, where our graphic design company, they were doing a fantastic job. They were doing our catalog, our advertising, everything, but they couldn't keep up, and our growth was just going through the roof. And so I flew out there because I felt like I owed it to them to fire them in person, right? So I had never been to San Luis Obispo, knew it was a sleepy little town in California, and I got there and just absolutely fell in love with the place. It didn't hurt that the first end user they took me to visit was Jory Brigham, followed shortly by Ben Rittering. And so again, I want to make sure it's clear that this is the origin story, right? And so I'm hanging out with these guys for a week in these shops and just seeing the just absolute glory of creativity in action, not just like, I don't know. I don't want to knock anybody, right? But I mean, these guys were out there just making the most beautiful art on the planet, and the rest of us call it furniture, right?
Right.
So, these guys are just tremendously talented. And I'm looking at it, and my wheels start turning. And the next thing you know, Jory and I became fast friends, and Ben and I did too. And incidentally, two of our best-selling aprons are named after those two guys. But so anyway, so I find myself surfing with Jory. I love to surf. I suck at surfing, but so I swapped I swapped something for a surfboard, and it's still at Jory's house. But Jory and I are out there surfing in Morro Bay, and the waves were quiet, and we're just sitting out there talking. And it's so clear that I'm so jealous of him in this woodworking, not just lifestyle, but being a creator, being somebody who's doing something that is so pure, and there's no bullshit about it, right? And we're also talking about me being in corporate, and so I've got this dream job, right? I'm the vice president of Festool, and this is going to sound so douchey, but every once in a while somebody will be like, "Oh, so you did sales for Festool?" No. I was like the vice president in charge of all of that stuff,
Right.
and so it wasn't just like some, and God love the regional sales guys, but I wasn't just answering phones. But so anyways, I'm like living the dream, right? Of anybody who uses power tools at this point, who Festool is, you're like, this is freaking awesome. And so I should be just sitting there living it up. But I'm talking to Jory, and I'm like, I want what you have. And he's like, well, why didn't you do it? And I said, well, I don't know. I guess I was always too scared, right? Just to jump off that cliff. And I had always wanted to be a woodworker, and I had been building furniture since I was a kid. And I just didn't feel like I could turn that into a business. And I just remember that was it. That was the defining moment. On a surfboard, Jory on his surfboard. We were not sharing a surfboard. And we're out there, and it's just like, yeah, why am I doing what I'm doing when that's not what I'm meant to be? And so it literally, as soon as we got to shore, it was like every moment from there to here was all about, Calavera wasn't even a spark in my mind, but that was the spark. That was the moment that it was like, all right, I'm going to go start my own business. I don't know what it's going to be, but I'm going to start my own business. And so, yeah, that was it. And I think I was at Festool for another couple of years, and, had a great time, nothing but great things to say about those folks, but I was done, and they were probably done with me too, or at least the Germans were.
Well, we have a German on right now, or it was. So what made you decide to get into then the leather working like that? You're talking to a woodworker, you're working for a woodworking company, and then you go, oh, you know what? I'm going to start my own leather apron company.
Well, So I mean, there's no simple A to B, right? But so I wanted to be a woodworker, but the one major thing with woodworking was my inability to finish a project in less than a year. And I just knew that if it was constant custom projects, then there's no way I could succeed at that. My time management, I am one of those people who wants a project to breathe, right?
Right.
And so anyway, so I'm thinking about woodworking, but I'm still coming out of corporate, right? And so the first thing I do is, and I guess I should say, it wasn't just about creativity. It wasn't just about, the woodworking. It was more about having my own company and doing my own thing. And I think that was the biggest thing that was missing for me. And so I was working on actually buying a company out in California, a company called Occidental Leather. They make these just amazing tool belts. And this is a key part of the story. So I'm going out there and I'm talking to Daryl and Lynn, the owners of the company. And I'd known them for years and years through various collaborations. And I just fall in love with these tool belts, these leather tool belts. But so here's the rub, right? Is I'm coming at it because I'd done renovation and construction, through childhood and college and everything else. And so I see these tool belts that they're making out there. And these things they look like high-end, I say high-end designer. They are, the level of quality for these tool belts was mind-blowing, right? And so I'm looking at them and I'm thinking, these guys are going to take these out there and use them to pour, they're going to be wearing them while they're doing rough construction, pouring concrete, throwing up 2x4s, putting on roofs. And it just literally blew my mind. Like I was struggling so hard to process it, but that was the adventure I was on at that moment. And so we came to agreement on price and everything else, and we had the handshake and the pat on the back. And I was going to buy this company out in California, and then I never heard from him again until 2 years later. So I basically got ghosted. The deal fell apart. Tragically, his wife Lynn had been diagnosed with a terminal disease in the intervening week between the handshake and signing the paperwork. So anyway, so that went away. So I'm like completely destroyed, and mentally I'm just like, this is this sucks. This was my dream company. We were practically packed up and moving out to California, and but you don't just sit around. I got bills to pay. I got 4 kids and a wife, right? So I'm looking around at, what could I do? And that brings Ben Rittering back into the conversation. So Ben, I probably put my hands on it within a minute. Ben sends me this old beat up apron that he had kind of cobbled together out of an old welder's apron. And he sends it to me in this priority mailbox. He's just like, hey man, he's just got this super easy way about him. And he's like, hey man, why don't you see if you can make this apron? Do a better job. And he had literally just kind of hand stitched it together. And that was it. And so I started making some aprons. I knew nothing about leatherwork other than what I had learned, by investigating the leather tool belt company, right? But what I had discovered, and this is key, I can't believe I left this out. What I had discovered in my research was that all of these workshops that I'd been, because I spent a lot of time at workshops and job sites during my Festool years. But what I discovered was that you've got these guys doing this rough construction in these, goodness knows, gorgeous tool belts, right? But then the guys in the workshops building furniture are, and this is a perfect example. No offense, Lee Valley. I'd love to make you some new ones, but everybody recognizes this, right? And this thing's less than 2 years old. So my buddy Greg Paolini, who used to do training for me at Festool, he was like, take this apron and see what you could do with it. And what he was basically saying was that, he would buy these canvas aprons and they would last for maybe 2 years, and then they were destroyed. So he'd have to buy a new one. But and I know there's like one more thing. And what I realized with Greg especially is that this apron had glue all over it. It had blood in places. It had, all of this stuff. And that tied the apron to the tool belts, which was that you're working with a similar passion, right? You've got your blood, you've got your sweat, you've got your freaking tears into that tool belt. And those guys keep those things. I mean, those things are family heirlooms by the time they're done with them. And I wanted to make something that would be the equivalent for a woodworker. And for somebody who's working in a small shop or garage or, something like that. And so that's where the idea for the aprons came from. So I took the ideas from Ben, I took the ideas from Greg, and then, basically taught myself leatherworking. And it didn't take long, and I was making aprons. And I had a couple other things that I was working on at the time, but the aprons took off, and it was like, all right, let's make aprons. And so I started the company. I bought another company, which no need to talk about that one. Sold that company. But once I sold that and we had moved down to Charleston, I found myself like, all right, well, what do I do now? And previously I'd been hands-on, but not super hands-on.
Right.
And so when we got to Charleston, I just sold this other company, and it was like, well, what the hell do I do now? And so Marie and my wife and I just said, all right, we're going to give the aprons a shot, and in 12 months we'll revisit. And if they're not doing well, then I go back to corporate or do something else. And 12 months later, they were kicking ass. And then 12 more months later, they're still kicking ass. So anyway, so that right there is the shortest villain origin story. I don't know about villain. Shortest origin story I got for you.
Well, first of all, you are wearing a Batman apron when we've already discussed that Spider-Man is the best.
True. I wasn't even thinking about that.
I feel like almost personally attacked with that.
Yes.
Everybody knows that Spider-Man is the better superhero, but that's beside the point.
Yeah. I don't know. I would contend that Batman doesn't even try to be a superhero. Like, he's just a hero. That dude's just freaking awesome. He doesn't need to be bitten by some stupid spider. He just rocking.
So you've done this. You've created your own style of apron, right?
Yep.
Talk about, now that you're here, talk about how you got in. Wow, Spider-Man sucks. I got to ban this person. Hold on a second.
Thank you.
Your workshop. Let's talk about the workshop. Like, where are you now? You're down here, Charleston, you said?
Yeah, so Charleston, South Carolina. I like to tell people I am in the middle of a swamp on an island inside another island. So if you're coming for a shop visit, be prepared for banjos. We are deep in the woods.
Banjos and mosquitoes.
Yes, exactly. Mosquitoes aren't actually that bad here at the shop, but no, I'm in the middle of this big piece of property on Johns Island, which is just outside of Charleston. And so yeah, it's about 20 minutes from where I live on James Island, which is also just out. The whole area is made up of a series of barrier islands.
All right, so you're on an island. You got this space now. Is this a place that you're renting? Did you build this place?
Yeah, so I've found the place on Craigslist, met with the landlord, had, I think, 600 or 800 square feet when I first got here. And we also do, and this is a piece that I really never talk about just because it doesn't connect easy to the leather goods, but we also do quite a bit of work for the NFL, as in football league. And one year we had some huge project come in and we needed more space. So I talked to the landlord and he built this space for us. So it's about 2,400 square feet, not heated, as you can tell, but very good insulation, which is nice. And, once we got here, it felt like, all right, we're home. Like, we're going to be here for a long time. And, so everything I've done to the shop, I don't put it up and think that I'm going to take it down in a couple of years. I put it up and think I'm going to be here for the next 20.
Right. So what happened last year where you lost some product?
Yeah, that's right. And actually, not a bad time to shout out something coming up. But yeah, so it was, what was it, just after Workbench Con, and I got back, and it wasn't like that same weekend, but within a couple of
Yeah, yeah.
weeks, and came into the shop on Monday morning, and there was water dripping from the ceiling, and of, let's say, the 2,400 square feet, like it was the middle 800 square feet of ceiling that was basically just raining inside the shop. And unfortunately, that middle 800 feet is where all the leather is stored, like
Right.
all of the cut panels, all the parts, everything. And so everything got all the leather. Fortunately, not too many machines impacted, and I was able to clean most of the machines. A few of them still had some rust on them, but everything is operational. But I mean, it took me months to, I hate to say recover, but it took a long time to get everything back to normal, or any semblance of normalcy. Um, Tons of aprons were, and I say ruined. It's not that they were really ruined, but when something like leather gets wet, the salt and wax and everything
Yeah.
else will create a line, and it just looks like a water snake. And we thought long and hard about it, and just decided that that wasn't the kind of product we wanted to sell.
Right.
So put all of that over to the side, and I will say that it's all still in a pile, and we're going to do something with it. I would even go so far to say most of it has been made into aprons, and let's just say something big in a couple of months rhymes with snail, big fat apron snail, using the product that got wet, that it doesn't really hurt the leather. Again, it's just
So,
tiny little water.
so you're not having a fire snail.
It would be water
I'm sorry.
snail,
Wait,
right?
what's that word again? Water? Water?
Water,
How's that
water,
spelled? How's that
water.
spelled? Is it
W
WAR?
A R T
Okay, I
E
thought so.
R.
I
Thank you.
thought so. I thought so. I wasn't sure. Up here in New York, we say water because we are, according to our dictionary, there's no extra R in there. But
Right. How do you
I
say Clemson?
I'm not a grammatical expert. Yeah.
How, how do you say
The
Clemson?
Clemson.
Clemson.
What the
There's a
hell is
P. There's a
where
P.
in Clemson?
Clemson. Yes. CLEMPSON. Yes. Clemson.
We must be thinking of a different place.
No, same place. Same place. The P is invisible. That's what it is.
That's what it is. Well, I'm glad that, and I was going to ask about your recovery because I mean, I know just losing a couple things, how much that hurts. I can't imagine how much money and I mean that must have been terrible.
Yeah, it was. Let me say, no. The answer to that is no. I would even go so far as say is emphatic no. And anybody who was following me and paying attention at that time, um, I wasn't upset about it. People screw up. People upstairs screwed up. They
I was
put
getting, I was,
they put
didn't,
the they put the hose. They were installing a washing machine, and he put the hose in the wrong hole. Don't
that's
worry
what she
about
said.
any. Yeah, thanks. I was not trying to go there. Family channel, for God's sake. But there was the landlord. I think he like cut an extra hole in the wall, and they put the drain basically into the hole that drains it into my shop. And so they were totally cool. We had some discussions, and they wrote a check, and anything that I couldn't recover was completely covered, so it was all good. But I go back, like I numerous people remarked, and it was true. I wasn't really thinking about it, but it's like you find your zen place, right? Like
Yeah.
you accept that, okay, there's nothing I can do to prevent this at this point. What am I going to do? And
Right.
so at that point, it's like, okay, well, let's just clean it up, see what we can do. I'm not pissed at the people who effed it up. They didn't mean to. They were really nice people, but they just screwed up. And
Right.
so it was tough. Obviously, it was an inconvenience, and I would even go so far as to say last year was one of the, when you're running a small business and, sometimes you're flying by the seat of your pants, a marketing strategy is tough to come by. But we had a marketing strategy last year, and then it just went completely up in smoke. And that's what took time to recover, because it threw us off of what we had planned to do. And but again, there's no reason to be mad. Why get upset about something?
Well, I mean, I think there's a difference between getting mad and just frustrated. I personally, I would be very frustrated. I would be annoyed, because I'm like looking at that money just washing down the drain, literally in this case,
Yeah, it's very hard. So let's go back to, and I don't want to burn up too much time just talking about origin stories, but when I was go back all the way to the time that I was at Bosch, right? And I was the good time man. It was like I had the Bobby Bosch credit card. We'd go out, everybody just light it up. It was just what you would expect on a company card, and had a blast. And I was just one of the guys, right? Gals too, Katie Calavera. But then when I got into Festool, it was almost like I had to play a role. And that was honestly one of the most defining elements of my time at Festool, is that, I don't know, I don't want to knock too hard, and I'm sure a lot of people would disagree, but we had kind of a absentee CEO, and he had hired me because he didn't want to enforce the tough decisions. Like, he was totally willing to agree to the tough decisions, but he didn't want to be the enforcer. And it dawned on me after not a whole lot of time that they hired me as an enforcer, which was the weirdest thing. Like, how on earth they got that from the interview, I still have no idea. But they hired me to be an enforcer, to be a hatchet man. And so basically I had to go from being Mr. Good Time to being nobody's eating at Fogo de Chao. If you eat at Fogo de Chao, I'm canceling your corporate card. I mean, I was so hardcore about expense reports, and there were just so many things. But that was the role that I was hired for. Like, that's what I had to do, and I felt like such a dick. And for the longest time, I just felt like it was not me. And I think that I'm drawing this back to the flood situation, is I expended all of my anxiety. I expended all of my confrontationality, whatever. I expended all of that in my time at Festool, because that's what I had to do. But, so everybody sees me goofing around, and, like my Instagram channel, we don't take things too seriously around here. But, it's not like I'm just here to have a good time. Obviously, we want to run a business.
Right.
But I just refuse to get stressed. I feel like that's a part of my life that I'm thankfully, I am a stress-free person.
By the way, I'm wearing your shirt.
That's what I'm talking about. How about the belt? Are you wearing the belt?
Always wearing the belt. Always wearing the belt. I mean, I get that. I get that. It's just hard to. You're far more laid back about that than I am, because recovering from any type of financial setback, I always look at it. I'm like, crap, this sets me back. Like, I had this. It's almost like looking at a video game. Like you have a life, and then something happens and it sets you back, and you're like, oh, I lost that one. I got to start over again, or I got to do something. So I'm glad to hear that you're far more laid back about it. But hold on, let's come back to. I want to come back to something else you were talking about. Your Instagram channel, content creation.
Yes.
How do you now?
I have been known to create some content.
Yes, I've seen you do that. You know what? But listen, as someone who sells my own things, one of the issues I have is that I know if I show too much of my own stuff, if that's all I do, people are going to leave the channel. However,
why do you think I set shit on fire all the time?
Keep going, man. That's you're answering my question right there. Right?
Yeah, it's kind of true. But anyway, keep going.
No, you've already started to answer it. Like, how do you balance content creation and showing things with not feeling like you're oversaturating your audience or your market?
So I want to come back in a second to the topic, a related topic of like sponsorships, right?
Okay.
And because I think that's kind of a key element in this, or a lot of people, you get on it. A lot of people, excuse me, I'm going to shorten the statement. A lot of people get on Instagram because they want free shit, right? Or they get on social media because they want free shit. And so I'm gonna name check a couple of people. Number one, John Malecki, who I'm sure he's tuned in right now. But John, good friend of mine, he said something. I called him when I was like, in the just kind of getting started on Instagram, and we're having a conversation about Instagram and how to grow and what to do on Instagram. And he was like, dude, what are you going to be? What do you want to be on Instagram? Are you going to sell your own product? Do you want to be an influencer and sell other people's product? Do you just want to be a goofball and just have a bunch of followers for your own ego? You have, and so this is paraphrasing John, is just like, you got to figure out who you want to be and who your audience is going to be and who you want to be to that audience, because you can't just wake up every morning and change what that's going to be. And so I'm going to tie that to, which I thought that sticks with me to this day. That was 6 or 7 years ago, and I thought it was fantastic advice.
Yeah, it's a good point.
I'd say that to anybody, is you got to figure out who you want to be, what kind of channel you're going to have. Don't just make it up every single day. So then the next thing was, I was having a conversation with everybody here, I can't imagine doesn't know Ashley Harwood, this fantastic wood turner friend of mine, who's local to Charleston. And she and I were talking the other day about sponsorships and getting other brands involved, because I'd love to have some sponsorships. I'd love for somebody to pay me $5,000 to produce a video. I just like when people send me free boots, for God's sake. I'm not kidding. Like, I am like the captain of free shit. Like, I love it. I love free stuff, which incidentally is why I give so much stuff away, because people love free stuff. People love it. Bottle of glue spreader, doesn't matter. People feel seen, and they feel like, hot damn, I'm going to get me that $5,000 video payout soon. That bottle of glue is just a start. So anyway, I digress. So Ashley and I are talking, and we're talking about sponsorship, and I could tell she was kind of holding her tongue. And, people are knocking at Ashley's door for sponsorship stuff all the time. Ashley is, she's got a lot going on. And she was like, but you're not really set up for sponsorships. And sponsors watching right now, don't believe a word of that. I would be a fantastic sponsoree, or whatever we're going to call it. But so she was telling me what I already knew, which is, I am selling my stuff. I am here to sell you Calavera. I am here to sell you, and it sounds so icky, so douchey, but I don't feel like I'm hard selling. I mean, I'll put a promotion up every once in a while.
No. I don't think that's what you're doing at all. You're not. I mean, there's a difference. Like, what I'm looking at is, it's easy for me to show one of my jigs flattening something, and then I can move on, and I'm showing using the table saw, and I'm showing something else, and I'm building this, and I'm building that, and I'm using the CNC, and blah blah blah. But your whole business, your whole thing is your leather aprons, right? So that's where, for me, like, I struggle with the correct balance between showing, and here's the other part of it is, whenever I show my stuff, I obviously sell it. But if I were to only show it, then people say, well, why am I watching this channel? I've already seen this. I've already bought it. or I've already decided I don't want to get. And I mean, I'm saying that from a point of view where I've done that. Like I've looked at people's channels where I've followed them, and it's like, dude, all you're doing is showing this stuff that you're selling, and there's nothing fun here anymore.
Yeah. And so to that point, I would say that I'm not great at it, but and let me say, there ain't a whole lot of social media strategy over here other than if I don't post every day. And again, I'm careful with promotions. Like if all I did was post big text lettered over images selling Merrillita handbags, everybody tunes out. Like that's just not me, right? There's some really great, there's some companies out there whose their photography is dialed in, but then their followers, they want to see those beautiful pictures. Like they're into the art of the picture as much as they are the art of the finished product.
Fair point, right.
But you don't always see a whole lot of process. And so I am very much not a, like traditionally trained leather worker. I'm kind of made so much of it up on my own, by watching YouTube videos, by collaborating with friends, and going and bugging the shit out of people who were willing to tell me what to do. And by now we make a pretty damn nice product. But what I've found is, dare I say, Calavera Tool, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube is mildly entertaining.
Yeah,
I dare say that. Yeah,
I would agree with that.
I dare say that.
And like you said, the fire draws people in.
And the fire just started out as something kind of goofy, and then it got to a point where people demanded it. Like if I didn't set shit on fire, I heard about it. Like, why aren't you setting shit on fire? We're here for the fire, dude. So then I started setting more shit on fire. Anyway, it's kind of fun, and I'm a little bit of a pyro anyway, so it's okay. But so, and I feel like I'm doing an awful job answering your question, but I'm trying.
You're doing fine.
What I would say is, years ago I started doing this thing, Apron Friday, right? So every Friday, almost without fail, I make about aprons, right? Like big showpiece apron at the end of the week. Like usually it's one that we've been working on, and maybe I've shown you a few steps along the way. But then Friday is the day that you get to see the finished product, and it's like, boom, awesome. I just said that I should write that down as a marketing strategy and actually follow it, because I don't always follow it, but I try.
Right.
Because what I like to do is show the process of making that apron over the course of the week. And then, like I said, Friday, couple of problems. Number one, you're running a small business. You're doing all the video yourself. You got to do all the editing. You got to get somebody to hold the camera sometimes. And let me tell you, Belle and Marie do not like that at all. John Henry is a non-starter. But so you got so much stuff to do, and then you miss a day, and then you miss a day, and then you're reposting stuff, or you're posting somebody else's stuff that features your content, or features the apron.
Yeah.
I don't like doing that. But so I started this Apron Friday, and the whole idea was to get users who already own the aprons or belts or t-shirts or whatever, and then they'll post something on Friday. And generally I try and announce it a couple of days in advance to make sure people remember. And a lot of times we'll give out prizes. I'll just like pick a few random ones, send them some coasters or an EDC mat, or a gift card to the site, just to say thanks, I appreciate it. Because if other people are posting my stuff, that's just that many more eyeballs, right? And it feels more organic because they're using it and stuff. And for anybody out there who's listening who has our gear already, and you're into making content, hit that damn collaboration button. Make sure it's a good video, but hit that damn collaboration button, and damn sure better tag me so that I can feature it along the week or on Friday or whatever. So, but going back to it, but what I will say I found is, it gets repetitive if all I do is just show you about an apron. And because we make belts and handbags and some other things as well, it's like, okay, well, let me just teach you how to do some stuff. And I'm not big on like voiceover and here, I'm the expert, and I'm going to teach you how we do this.
Hey,
It's
I'm
just
feeling
more,
attacked on that.
no, I'm not speaking, present company excluded. I'm just not good at that, like,
Yeah, I get you. I'm just kidding.
I know, but some people are really good at it. You're obviously really good at it. I am not. But what I am good at doing is finding like an eye-catching application, like pulling that
Yeah,
damn strap through
yeah,
the bevel cutter. And that's not a hard sell, right? Like
right.
I'm not hard selling anybody an apron or
No,
a
no, no.
belt.
You're just having fun.
I'm just
And, yeah,
and and it's showing something that so many woodworkers, and I guess I should have said at the beginning, like my business is so focused on makers, and we got a little bit of barbecue and a little bit of metalworking, but we are a maker
right.
oriented company, for better or worse. Like that's who we appeal to. And so all these makers who are out there following along, they see this and they're like, what in the hell did he just do to that piece of leather? And can I do that to a piece of wood? Because you're, just like me, I had never knew that that tool existed until I started doing this. So I could point out two really great ones. I could also say that neither one of them have sold a damn thing, but they get you some eyeballs and they build some awareness.
Yeah.
Um, and you're hooking up your sponsor, or you're hooking up the companies that you work with, and hopefully building that relationship. But I've got one video that's got probably 13 million views at this point, and it is an 8-second video of me pulling the belt. You've seen this application because I post it about once a month,
Yeah.
because I haven't shot it from the left yet. I've only shown it from the right or underneath.
Right.
I mean, I'm
Right.
going to show it every damn way, because every time I post that application, it's like an automatic 500,000 to 1 million views. And one of them has 13 million. And it's gotten to a point now where I see other leather workers doing the exact same thing, like beat for beat, doing the exact same thing. And, it's just a great freaking application. But so that one's got 12 or 13 million. And then the one I was telling you from maybe 3 weeks ago is up to like 4.1 or 4.2. Let me say,
Nice.
who gives a shit about the numbers? But you kind
It
of got to
brings
give a shit about
eyeballs.
it.
It
It
brings in.
brings eyeballs. It kicks in some endorphins. It
Right.
makes you feel like you're doing something right.
Right.
You're showing people some cool stuff. It's that makes it fun, right?
Well,
So no,
I was just talking to a friend of mine today, Scott Couch. Get off the couch, and I love
you
Scott.
know Scott Couch?
Oh yeah, good friend of
Are
mine.
you kidding me?
I've known him for years. So here's the thing. When I met Scott Couch, he had 100,000 followers,
He
and I was,
made this.
yeah, that's my guy. So listen, when I first met him, he had 100,000 followers, and I probably had like, I don't know, 8,000, pushing 8,000. Uh, and in that time, I've watched him stay roughly at 100,000, and now he's like down to 97, and that hurts. Like in terms of the, like you said, the endorphins, the game, the views. Like there comes a point where you say to yourself, if nothing's happening, if I'm losing, and what's the point? It gets tiresome. And
This is an important topic. What you have done is open up a can of worms. But go ahead.
yeah, well, no, and I mean that's the thing. Honestly, I've been at the same place. I'm like, I'm losing slightly less people, followers, than I'm gaining, and it hurts watching other people, grow when you feel like you're putting out your good work, you're doing good stuff. On the other hand, I can't complain because I love talking to the people on my page, and that's a big part of it to me is the interactions. This is what I love. I love the interactions.
Well, I'm going to jump in and because I know you're getting trashed in the comments right now. I can't read them; they're too small. But I know you're getting trashed
No,
because it makes it sound like you're only here for the numbers, and then all of us followers and viewers are only just numbers to you. Um, no, I'm kidding about that. But No,
Just say I wanted to make sure that I state that that's not how I feel.
I know that. I'm teasing you. I'm totally teasing you. But it's important. It is important. It is the nature of social media. It is why those whatever asshole or genius, whatever architects have developed a system that gets us addicted to this stuff. And you and me are just freaking players in the game. And but it hits a very, very important element of what you and I do and what so many other makers do, and the attrition that's here. And it's weird. And I don't know if you ever think about this. I bet you have. But you know, people are not numbers to you or me. You and I became, it started getting tight about 2 years ago. And what I realized, I was like, holy shit, this guy comments on everything I post. Like, why is he commenting? He doesn't even wear an apron or anything like that. But he's so into this. And then it's like, who was it? Dave Things, our buddy in South Korea. Right? He's the one.
Island, I think, maybe.
Yeah. Fantastic guy. I just out of nowhere, I'm like, this guy's freaking awesome. He comments every single day. And then I'm gonna throw one of my perfect example would be Pushing Penguins, right? A couple ladies down in, I think they're in New Orleans. Sorry, ladies. But they commented on every single thing. Katie Darnell, Darn Good Woodworking, commented on every single thing. They were all awesome. Here's what I'm getting at. It's like those last two, actually the last three, disappeared off the face of the planet. They went from posting and commenting every single day to, I hear from them via DM, or maybe they post something every couple months, but they decided to move on and do something else. And I'm not knocking them in the least bit, because God knows, just like you had second guess yourself, I second guess myself. It's like, why am I doing this? Am I doing this to an effect, to an outcome that I care about? And so people like this, life gets in the way. Kids got stuff going on. Your spouse has something going on. You've got health issues. You got stuff that you just don't know about. Crosscut Tab, great example. I mean, I could sit here and rattle them off, but I'm going to say this, and I want to be real careful how I say it. But you and I have developed this relationship, right? Just like I had developed what I thought were great relationships with all of them. And then one day, after 6 months of not hearing from them, you kind of look around and you're like, well, what happened to Mikey Osborne?
Right.
Mikey Osborne used to be on here every single day, and now I haven't heard from him in 4 or 5 years. And it's the weirdest thing, because I remember at 15 years ago, I was like, I don't need friends through social media. I'm not going to make my friends through social media. This just seems so preposterous. But now so many of my friends are social media. Like, I love these people.
Dude, that's my social life, honestly. Like
100%.
Yeah, especially at our age, we don't go out as much. I'm not going out talking to people. I talk to people at work, and then
in person, I suck. Hold tight. I gotta swap out. Bear with me and little difficulty.
I mean, right there. I don't get a lot of comments, but the ones I do get. Here's the other thing. This is something that bothers me.
I'm listening.
Is the people on social media, like, and this comes back to your statement, and I want to sort of tie a couple of things together. First of all, I like being on social media because I like talking to people, and I like feeling like I'm doing something for other people. Right? And so you just turned off your camera.
Did I? I didn't touch it. Hang on.
You did something, brother.
Hang on. Give me 2 seconds. I'll be right back.
Uh-oh. So I just think that as I'm talking, there you go, you're back. So you're back.
Good.
So, first of all, it irritates me looking at people's pages and commenting on people's stuff and you notice that they're not responding. They don't respond to anybody's comments. That irritates me because to me, what's the point, right? And this is something I've talked about before. What irritates me is when on YouTube somebody comments and they're like, "Holy crap, you responded." I've never had somebody respond before. I'm like, well, what? That's what we're here for. We're supposed to be responding, right? He's about to set something on fire. Yeah, learning and teaching. Wait, do you see that? Ryan said he's about to set something on fire. That was very true.
Sorry.
But you know what? Again, the goal of social media is to learn, to interact with people, to have a good time. Right? Would you agree?
Yes. Yeah. Oh, 100%. And to your point, like to a fault, I will respond to every comment. I mean, goodness knows, if somebody is cool enough to comment on one of my posts, hell yeah, I'm going to respond to that. I'm like super stoked. And if I don't, then I'm sincerely sorry. And thank goodness there were more comments than I expected. But my goodness, I think it is the coolest thing. And it makes that wheel go around. But, but keep going.
No. I think, just coming back to the whole point of this is just that it's hard to interact on someone else's page whenever you're seeing the same thing. So it's difficult, for me posting if I feel like I'm posting the same thing as well.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter. Here's what I want to talk about. The next thing, because we don't have a whole lot of time left, right?
Oh, okay. That's okay.
So how does
this hadn't gone like you wanted it to?
Oh, shut up.
I'm behaving very
I like that. Hold on. I think I like this. I don't know. Can you see the comments if I put them up like this? Said, I think the monetary aspects of social media have changed the game, but yeah, it should just be to connect. I mean, I'm a big fan. I'm a big proponent of the idea of learning and teaching, right? These are the things that I want to do on social media. That's and the thing for me that I noticed when my page changed I changed the direction and I started growing my page is when I started doing education, which fit with me anyway as a teacher. But again, this is not about me and this is not just harping on that one thing. I wanted to ask you, like, how has your page changed? How's content creation changed how you make things or vice versa? Right?
Fire.
Because
Setting
that's
stuff on fire.
I knew that was going to be your answer.
I mean, it's kind of an obvious answer. I'm not going to lie. I will say, like, and I don't think I'm spilling any secrets here, but I started lighting stuff on fire. One, because there's this black leather. Yeah. You could typically use the glue and this glue, and it usually works just great on every other leather. But for some reason on this black leather, it will not set up. Like, it just will not. And so what I learned was the only way to get it to stick was to light it on fire. And then one day I videoed it and people ate it up. So, that was one thing that I kind of learned, right? Now, I want to go back to this guy's comment from a minute ago. This person, I didn't see who wrote it. They were saying the monetization. I get like nothing. I don't know who on here, if your name's not April Wilkerson or, who I'm sure is tuned in right now. But, unless you're Mark Spagnola or April Wilkerson or, one of those other monetization royalty, like, I get maybe $30 a month from Instagram. And yeah, I mean, is it fun for them to have to actually send you a little bit of money? Yeah, but it's like $25, $30. I mean, it is nothing. Right. And that's on like the best month. So,
right.
The monetization, I think people think that if you have, a bunch of followers that you're monetizing this. I have never been paid a penny, not one, for a sponsored post, for anything. Don't get me wrong. I get a lot of free stuff, but not that much free stuff. And so I am not doing this, running a small business, leaving corporate and all the cushy trappings of corporate. I did not leave that behind so that I could get a free freaking hand press, like
Right.
it's not worth it. You're still running a small business.
Right.
So I will say this, like from a small business standpoint, I alluded to it earlier that if I don't post, I could probably post every other day, but I've kind of gotten to a point, like if I have something good, I'm gonna post it. And if I post 3 times in a day, so be it. And I don't care whether they do great or, whatever. I just want to put it out there. But I will say that if I don't post at all, it's crickets on the website. Like literally.
Right.
I say crickets. Yeah, it's crickets.
Yeah.
Like that you could definitely tell. And we're not some huge company. It's me, my wife,
Right.
and our part-timer Belle, and John Henry, my dog. Like that's it.
Right.
We are not a big company, so I don't want anybody to think like, oh, we're just over here, selling zillions of aprons. No, it doesn't work like that.
No.
But so anyway, so back to the content. It's like, how has small business or how has my approach to content changed? I think I appreciate the challenge of creating something, and I hate to say it's for the views, but I will say I felt like I cracked a code when I figured out that video that has 12 or 13 million views.
Yeah.
It was like I felt like I cracked a code because it was 8 seconds long. It had this amazing ASMR. It was super simple, to the point. It had a beginning, middle, end, done. And I felt like this is something you can replicate. And I haven't replicated it to that effect, but with some other stuff. But I will say I post a lot, maybe too much. But I'm definitely in the phase of social media where I don't care. Like I said, if I have something that I feel like is good, I don't even care what time of day it is. I used to post at 6:30 every single morning. This is a key point. I used to wake up for years. I would wake up at 5:30 in the morning to make sure that I had my post up by 6:30. And I would stay up till 2 a.m. and I would make sure that whatever I was going to post was just right for 6:30. And if I posted it any later than 6:45, I wouldn't post it at all. I'd wait till the afternoon or whatever it was. But I was intent on hitting 6:30 in the morning because I felt like, okay, this is where the greatest success is coming. Like that's when I need to have it up. But then what I realized is this is stressing me out. I am losing sleep over this. This is not fun. And so I went from, my optimum time being 6:30 in the morning. And I even had people like, oh, I love it. I wake up in the morning, you're the first thing I see. And that's cool and all, but it ain't paying the bills. And, the stress associated with that. So I was like, screw it. So now I just post literally whenever throughout the day. If I've got something and it's ready, I'm so worried that I'm going to forget to post it later. I just hit send and don't care. Sometimes it hits, sometimes it doesn't. One other note on collaborations, I talked about that briefly early. I love collaborations, and I love when people who have my gear create a cool video and they hit that collaboration button. That's amazing. Yeah. It's great for them and it's great for me, and I wish there was more of it, not just for me, but for all my other maker friends. Folks, if you can create some content and I'm not, I hate to put you on the spot, but man, people should be producing stuff using your stuff, using the stuff that you have produced and marketed, and they should be not just tagging you, they should be hitting that collaboration button. Now, I should say it needs to be decent. Like it has to be at a level that it's commensurate with the feed.
Well, I mean, listen,
but it doesn't even have to be that good.
No, I don't care. There's a guy who's tagged me a couple of times, collaborated with me, and actually, a small count. He's got 117,000 views on it, something like that. And I know for a fact that he got a couple people to my page. So yeah, it's all important. That's what matters.
Well, a guy that I collabed with the other day on a post about axes, he was so stoked because he got like 25 new followers. I'm like, hell yes. I could care less if I got a single new follower from him. I was just super stoked that he got 25 new followers by hitting
Right.
the collaboration button. And it's
Right.
so freaking easy. Now, you got to accept that person on the other end is not always going to hit accept, right?
Right.
you got to know.
Yeah.
Because that person, me, you got to look at it. I don't think I've ever rejected one. I don't think I've ever hit no. But I would if it was just.
All right, hold on.
Really
I want to do one thing. I want to read this one, and then we're going to end after we talk about this. He said, I need to post more, but most of the time I got nothing good going on. And I'm going to disagree with that.
Same.
Yeah. I mean, anything is you know what? This was funny. Jimmy DiResta, we were out at his farm for Maker Camp, and something got set on fire, and Derek from Alden, you just hear him repeating Jimmy. He goes, everything is content, right? Everything is content. Anything you can post is better than nothing.
Yep. I could not agree more, because maybe what you find is people don't really care what you're doing on the laser. Don't get me wrong. I think they're just awesome. I want to see everybody's name engraved on a Yeti. I think it's fantastic. But maybe people don't want to see that. Maybe people want to see your attitude or how you handle the balance between full-time gig and side hustle, right? And so maybe that narrative is where the interest comes from. And it's not about lasering a freaking Yeti. It's about, one of Van Stray designs. And he knows this. Because he with this is like me with the belt thing. Is they were delivering. I think it was his saw stop table saw or something.
Yeah.
And he videoed it, and it just falls right out the back of the truck. It's just like perfect. Oh my gosh! And I'm saying it was perfect. He knows it was perfect because. He got some mileage out of that. And I say mileage, I want to circle back because I know we're running out of time. But what I wanted to say was, remember I talked earlier about people just kind of disappearing? Number one, I miss those people. That's why I brought up those specific names. It's because I miss those people. They were my friends. I enjoyed their content. But maybe they weren't getting that endorphin rush. Maybe they thought to themselves, this is not working like I wanted it to work. I need social media to be a factor in my side hustle. And it is not doing anything for my side hustle. So it becomes a waste of time. And then they disappear and they go do something else. They have another interest, or maybe something else is pushing their side hustle forward. And I totally understand that. But it sucks because you made friendships with these people and you're like, oh, I can't wait till they post something else wearing that apron. And then you never see them again. It's not about the apron post. It's about this person has become my friend. Because even you, if you were to disappear, I'd probably notice after a few months.
Thanks, buddy.
I'm here.
I appreciate that. So
you are one of the nicest. Before you cut me off, before you end this, I just want to say that you and I tease each other a little bit. You are one of the nicest guys I've ever met, much less on this app. But you use some foul language behind the scenes, but we don't have to talk about that. But you are a really nice guy.
I am an angel. I would never swear. I never drink. I never smoke. I never, all that good stuff. Yeah. That's an old joke, right? Mm-hmm. Hold on. Sorry.
Anyway, you're really
good.
Guy. Thanks for having me on.
No, listen, I appreciate it. Ryan said earlier, he's like, we're going to have a to be continued. We'll get back on. We'll do it again. Unless I decide to name this again, rename it the Not Mike Williams podcast.
Yeah, sorry. You got to rename it now because here I
am. It was a great conversation. I really appreciate it. For everyone who's still on here, next week I'm going to have Graz Makes on here. So I had Pat Lapp last week. I'm doing the whole cast of apparently making things. I just got to reach out to everyone else. Jimmy DiResta last year. So Graz is going to be on next week, and we're going to talk all things. I'm going to talk metal. I know nothing about metalworking. I know more about leather working than I do about metal work. No, I don't.
Oh, different kind of metal. Sorry.
Hey, I'm all for that. I played Aerosmith today. What do you want to end with? What's the last thing you want to tell the people here who are listening? What's the last learning bit for them?
You sent me. He sent me the questions. I'm gonna just tell everybody. You sent me the questions, and I looked at them 30 seconds before we started. I did not prepare anything, as anybody.
I don't want you to prepare things.
I
just
know
want
that.
you to
I know you were
listen,
giving me a heads up.
and it's
but
not
there's
even
one
it's not
thing-
even all the questions. It's a couple main questions about
I
things
know,
that we might
but
go through.
I'm answering one of those questions that we didn't get to because I went on with the origin story a little bit.
You did.
Um,
That was a 45-minute origin story.
Come on.
My God.
If you were surfing on the West Coast and had an epiphany, you would
With
go on
Jory
about your
Brigham.
origin story. All right. So what I was going to say is one of your questions was, what do you want to be known for? What are you happy to be known for? Or, something along those lines, whatever. Who are you? What is it you feel you are known for? What do you make? I want to say, like, somebody said, A91, Brennan, he was like, you work for Festool? This dude literally puts everybody in the dust. Everybody. You know who I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, Buzz.
And nobody. He is the master of emojis. He is the master of the comment section. I have not posted in 3 years that he has not commented on every single damn post. My God, I love that guy. That's not what I'm finishing with. What I'm finishing with is he has commented on every single thing I've done for 3 years. And when I commented, or when I made a post the other night and said something about having worked for Festool, he was like, you worked for Festool? And, we had a back and forth over that. Like, yeah, I worked for Festool. He's like, how do I not know this? I said, because I don't talk about it. He's like, why don't you talk about it? I said, because I don't care. I care so much more about what I do now. And I care so much more about the person that I am now than I ever did about that person. And don't get me wrong, I had some great years. There were so many good things about that experience. But I feel like this is such a much more fun Michael Williams. This is a better Michael Williams. And so if I had one thing to leave with, it is to express my appreciation for getting to be part of the maker crowd. And I don't know when it happened, but at some point it happened where I went from being a former corporate guy who was pretending to be a maker to, I'm here, folks. I ain't going anywhere. I make stuff. That's what I do. And it just feels good to be part of this creative community, and I love it. And so I'm so much more proud of what I do now than anything I ever did before.
I love that. Thanks for coming on, brother. I appreciate it. Thanks to everyone here who's here. I love you guys. I'm glad to see you. And we're going to go now.